Welcome to Death Lies Alibis. I'm your host, Christy, and this is the podcast that dives deep into the dark and eerie world of local cold cases. Now, Zanesville is a small, lovely town nestled in the heart of Ohio. It's bustling with tight-knit neighborhoods, friendly faces, and a sense of security that you'd expect from any small town. But beneath the idyllic surface lies a hidden darkness, a collection of unanswered questions that have lingered over the years. So grab your headphones, lock your doors, and be prepared to enter a world where the truth has invaded everyone. Welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If you're a new listener, welcome, and I hope you stick around till the end. Okay, today's story is Lisa Myers, age 36, mysteriously disappeared in 2014, and it was a haunting 2 weeks before she was ever found. On that fateful July afternoon, around 4 p.m., an anonymous tip led Sheriff Lutz and his canine unit deep into the woods near Lisa's apartment complex. And there, tragically close to where she lived, they found her, gone far too soon. Initially, the coroner's examination revealed no signs of blunt force trauma. Now, we're going to look into those findings in a bit. But what really haunts me is how all of this happened so close to her home. I mean, it raises alarming questions like, well, of course, who and what killed Lisa? And why did this happen here, just steps from where she lived? And what secrets are still hidden in Brookside Drive? Now, Sheriff Matt Lutz has labeled the death as suspicious, and, well, quite frankly, we do too. He's kept the details close to his chest about why he suspects it's foul play. But in a statement to their Times recorder back in 2014, Sheriff Lutz reaffirmed that
Lisa's case remains a priority for us as we continue to seek clarity and closure.
So it's important to get the latest news directly from the source. So I reached out to Sheriff Lutz for an update. He did agree to an interview, which means I'll be bringing you his insight later on in the episode. I'm trying to provide you with the most current information we have. As the sheriff continues his steadfast pursuit of the truth, I want to take you right in the heart of where it all unfolded, right there at Brookside Drive. Let's walk through the scene together. As I walk through the complex here, just listen. I can hear the gentle rustle of the leaves overhead in this cool breeze, and I can hear the distant hum of Route 40 East, and it all seems so normal, but there is something about the air that feels different today. This complex, it sits on a hill, and it's surrounded by old trees full of dense greenery. This is a pretty typical peaceful place. But I have to admit, while I'm standing here, there's an undeniable eeriness. I don't know, it's like a silence that's too heavy. It's too quiet. Let me see, how can I explain this? It's as if the very atmosphere is holding its breath, waiting for answers, just like we are. So I'm looking at the complex right here, and it has several apartment buildings, each with 4 or 5 units. They're pretty simple looking, with brick halfway up, and then there's cream vinyl the rest of the way. It's what you expect for around town. But being here now, knowing what happened, it is hard not to think about something so terrible happened so close to what was supposed to be a safe home for Lisa. Now, I'm out here at the edge of the field where Lisa's body was found. The sun's beaming down. It's lighting up the grass. It's making it look a lot less grim than the story it's holding. Standing here, soaking in this peaceful scene, it really hits why I do this, why I dig into these dark stories. The breeze kind of carries the voices of those gone too soon, whispering to me, pushing me to keep telling their stories, to never let them fade away. What happened to Lisa shows that bad things can happen anywhere, folks, even in places that seem safe. We're out here today to get a real sense of the place. I wanted to understand the surroundings, and I wanted to think about what really went down. Her body was discovered here, but where did Lisa actually lose her life? There are so many missing pieces of her story. Let's talk about how Lisa lived. Yeah, she was in some risky circles, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't just chalk her death up to an overdose. It's easy for folks to see her lifestyle and think, oh, that figures, yeah. But let's look at where they did find Lisa. That wasn't normal. She was out in a place that doesn't make sense for just an overdose. It was in a desolate place, a corner of a field, so that it's in a place where, why would she do drugs there? If she had her own place, paying for her own place, living by herself, well, she could do drugs, and she was doing drugs in her own home. There's no reason for her to be there as an overdose. This points to something worse, like foul play. We can't let our assumptions steer our story here. Her death is suspicious, plain and simple, and it should be treated with the seriousness of a homicide. And let's push for that and make sure she gets the thorough investigation she deserves. Okay, folks, we're back in the studio. Now, let's talk about a significant hurdle that complicates every step of this investigation, and that's the condition in which Lisa's body was found. Now, I want to give a trigger warning here. We are going to eventually go over the autopsy report and talk about things that are in the report, so this is a trigger warning and a heads up. All right, let's continue. Now, imagine Lisa's there in that field, possibly for up to 2 weeks, exposed to all the elements. Now, this isn't just about time passing. No, it's about what the environment does in that time. The rain, sun, and of course wildlife are all factors, and they're just more than elements. They actively interfere with all the evidence. And of course, moisture can dilute or wash away vital clues like fingerprints or DNA. And while the summer heat, it escalates the decomp, destroying crucial forensic details. So in crime scenes, especially outdoors, time is everything. The longer a scene is exposed, the more the evidence that's lost. And with Lisa, the conditions outdoors worked against the officials from the very start. So, with the evidence getting messed up by nature, detectives had a much harder time. It's not just about finding Lisa, it was about finding out what happened to her quickly before the evidence faded. That's why these cases can go cold so fast. It is a race against time and nature, and sadly, in Lisa's case, it took too long to even get started. Folks, as we keep pushing forward in our quest to research the mystery of Lisa, we've finally gotten our hands into the autopsy report. Now, this document is crucial because it's the medical examiner's detail. It's an account of what they found during the examination of her body. Now, it sheds light on the medical side of things, from the cause of death to any other forensic evidence that could hint at what happened in her final moments. Now, autopsy reports can be pretty technical and sensitive. They're not just a list of findings. They tell a story, the story of Lisa's last hours. So this report has details on everything from any injuries she might have sustained to the toxicology results that will tell us what substances, if any, were in her system. Now, given the sensitive nature of this information and the depth of detail it involves, I decided that I wanted to go over this report more thoroughly in a space where we can discuss it openly, but with the respect it absolutely deserves. That's why we're going to share our findings and our insights over at our Facebook group. This will allow us to have a more detailed discussion, and we can address your questions and thoughts in a more respectful and focused environment. I'm sure you agree. So if you're not already a part of our Facebook community, now's time to join. It's where we can really dive into some pages of this case. It's supported by the hard facts laid out in the autopsy report. So come on over. You can throw in your 2 cents. And remember, going over these documents, well, it helps piece together the real story of what happened, all based on hard facts, not just rumors or guesswork. I like that. But folks, we're not just talking about a case here. We're talking about someone who mattered. It's about remembering Lisa properly and pushing for answers so this doesn't happen again. Now, as we look into the story of Lisa Myers, it's important to reflect on how her disappearance and death resonated throughout Zanesville. The community's reaction was one of shock and fear, and the feeling still lingers today. As a matter of fact, one family member said,
"We can't move forward. It feels like the world has forgotten, but we're stuck living the same nightmare every day."
And a local resident, John Miller, he shared,
"The day we heard that poor woman was found, it was like a dark cloud had settled over Brookside Drive. You could feel the change in the air. People were scared, not just for themselves, but for their families too.
That spot, folks, at Brookside Drive, it's just plain creepy knowing what happened there. But we got to talk about more than just that place and what it looks like. We need to get into how Lisa lived and how people saw her, because that's what really matters. See, what happened to Lisa isn't just a one-off tragedy in our area. It copies other sad stories, like those of Santana Ivy, Stephanie Gillis, and Angela Kinney. All these cases are still wide open, each one leaving a deep scar of heartache and a load of unanswered questions. People are even starting to wonder if there's a serial killer on the loose. Or even stranger, I've heard there might be something not right within our own law enforcement agencies. Now, of course, these are just rumors, but it gets you thinking. Okay, so Lisa's life wasn't easy. She faced a lot of tough stuff, dealing with drugs, run-ins with the law. Life threw a lot at her. I mean, it's just a harsh reality for anyone living on that edge like that. They deal with these kind of battles day in and day out. But those who really knew Lisa, they'll tell you about her love, her deep, fierce love for her daughters. She was more than her troubles. She was a mother, a friend, and a person who loved and was loved. And that's the Lisa we need to remember and fight for. We need answers, not just for the sake of solving a case, but to honor her memory and bring some peace to everyone who knew her. Lisa's sister, Vicki Staffy, has been the bedrock for her family through the storm. She says this:
"It destroyed our dad. His life pretty much stopped the day Lisa died. Lisa's daughters, young women now, navigate life with their mother's absence as a silent anchor in their lives. Her story isn't just a file on a detective's desk or a segment in a true crime podcast. It's a plea for justice. Someone out there knows something. They're sitting on secrets that could break this wide open. We grew up watching horror movies, Children of the Corn, Nightmare on Elm Street. Lisa loved those. But now, our family lives a nightmare every day. Wondering, waiting. As whispers of a serial offender drift through Zanesville, each unsolved case adds weight to the community's heartache."
And that's very true, folks. The longer these cases grow cold, the harder they are to solve. But we have seen breakthroughs, even years later, usually when somebody brave steps forward or a new forensic testing comes around. It's important to remember that while sure, lifestyle choices can bring certain risks, they should never overshadow the quest for justice. Everyone deserves their story to be treated with a thorough investigation and respect, regardless of their background. Good words for us all to reflect on. And let's not forget who Lisa really was beyond the headlines, beyond that mystery that surrounded her death. Lisa Ann Myers lived a life filled with relationships and responsibilities, and it all defined her much more deeply than any single aspect could. Lisa was more than just a statistic. She was a daughter to Vicki and Charlotte Myers, a sister to Vicki Myers Staffy and Jeff Myers, and a loving mother to her two beautiful daughters, Lindsay Evans and Alicia Myers. Now, she was born on January 12, 1978, and was raised in Zanesville. She lived on Crock Road in White Cottage and attended Maysville School District. Folks, Lisa was your neighbor, the cashier at Dollar General, or even the pizza delivery person. What I'm saying is, she was just living her life. Okay, maybe not her best life, but maybe she could have turned that around. But instead, someone took her life into their hands and played God. And now there's no chance for Lisa. And to me, that's just pure evil. We talked about Vicki, who isn't just Lisa's sister. She is a pillar of strength and an unwavering advocate in the journey to uncover the truth behind Lisa's tragic death. Her commitment to justice is so powerful. She helps drive the ongoing investigation. I sat down and we spoke about Lisa and how her murder affected everyone and everything in their world. Vicki, I want to thank you for coming on today. It means a lot that you're willing to share Lisa's story with us. Let's start out. Can you share some memories of Lisa, your baby sister? You said you had a couple favorites.
Back in the summer of '98, we racked up some real good memories. We'd camp out in lawn chairs from dusk till dawn, just stargazing and messing around. Those nights were all about snacking on ramen noodles and jamming to Def Leppard. Lisa's all-time favorite tune was Pour Some Sugar on Me. Man, she really couldn't get enough of that song. Another standout memory? Roaming through the cornfields, lugging around one of those giant boom boxes, with Cyndi Lauper setting the soundtrack to our adventures. Lisa was just 4 years younger, tagging along and looking up to me. I never fully grasped just how much I meant to her until she was gone, and I heard the stories.
So what has been the most challenging part of seeking justice for Lisa?
The hardest part? Hands down, it's feeling like the folks who should be helping us the most just don't. Out here in Muskingum County, trusting law enforcement feels like a tall order. There's a real lack of communication, and it often seems like they don't respect us. The people living this nightmare every day. We're co-victims in this whole tragic mess, but getting them to see that, to treat us with the care we deserve, has been a struggle every step of the way.
Okay, I've heard that before. We've heard that before here. Are there specific ways in which you think the investigation could be improved or even pushed forward at this stage?
Absolutely. Improvements are overdue. It boils down to the basics. Communication. We're in the dark most of the time. No updates, no progress calls. When we reach out, it's the same old no changes line. Honestly, what I think could really change the game is what your organization is aiming to do. Facilitate meetings with officials, press for status updates on our cold cases, and really shine a spotlight on what's happening. We need this kind of advocacy to keep the victims and their families informed and involved. It's about bringing awareness and momentum back to our cases, making sure we're not just stuck in the background. That's the push we desperately need right now.
I so agree. We need to be loud and a bright light to break this damn darkness that surrounds these cases. So how do you preserve Lisa's memory and legacy as time passes?
Keeping Lisa's memory alive is something we hold close to our hearts every single day. We make it a point to talk about her often, sharing stories and reflecting on all the love and joy she brought into our lives. It helps us remember her spirit and keep that connection strong. Interestingly, I see so much of Lisa in my daughter. It feels like a part of Lisa lives on through her. She embodies Lisa's loving heart and vibrant personality. When I was pregnant with her, which was a miracle in itself since I wasn't expected to have children, I had an experience that was so profound, it felt more spiritual than just a dream. I saw Lisa. She was smiling, healthy, and at peace. It was as if she was reassuring me, showing me that she's still with us in some way. This moment reassured me that through my daughter, Lisa's essence and legacy will continue in our family. It's a beautiful way to honor her memory, seeing her light shine on in the next generation.
Oh my gosh, you just gave me goosebumps, Vicki. That was awesome. Okay, let me ask you this. What support or resources have you found most helpful throughout this ordeal? Are there any organizations or groups that have assisted you?
The support from your group has been invaluable during this tough time. The way you bring these cases into the public eye and work with law enforcement to push for progress is truly commendable. Additionally, the efforts of Lily Paisley, our dedicated private investigator, have made a significant impact in our community. Heather Anders has also been an incredible advocate for us. Your continued dedication and hard work mean the world to us, and we are wholeheartedly behind you. Please keep up the great work. You are making a real difference.
Thank you for believing in us and trusting our crew with Lisa's story. I mean, your support keeps us all going. Looking forward, what are your hopes for Lisa's case, and what steps are you taking next in pursuit of justice?
Looking forward, my hope for Lisa's case is unwavering. We seek justice and closure, not just for us, but for the community. It's been 9 years. Imagine if this was your sister, your mother, or your daughter. You wouldn't stand by and let the world forget them. I want to ignite that same urgency in everyone. We need people to stay interested, to feel a burning passion to solve these cold cases because the reality is, there are killers walking among us. And that's unacceptable. We need to keep pushing, keep demanding answers, and ensure that these crimes are not swept under the rug. Our fight continues, and every bit of support fuels our pursuit for justice.
I totally agree. If people aren't talking about our cold cases, then there's no hope for answers. Where's the hope for justice? Vicki, your insight into Lisa's life and the personal impact of her loss are incredibly moving. I want to thank you for sharing your private memories and the challenges your family continues to face. Your strength is truly inspiring to us all. Now, as we peek into the layers of this unsolved case, it becomes clear how much Lisa's lifestyle might have influenced what happened to her. She struggled with drugs and was mixed up with folks who were just as deep into that same world as she was. It's a dangerous life full of risk and dark corners. But here's the real issue. Living like that in a small town, it can make them invisible. It's like they're screaming for help, but no one's listening. And that's not okay. Everyone deserves to be seen, to be heard, regardless of their battles. We need to stand up, pay attention, and fight for those who are often pushed aside and forgotten. I mean, cold cases of drug addicts and homeless people are too quickly lost in the system. Okay, we're going to take a break here, folks, and we'll be back in a jiffy. Okay, so let's shift gears and get some insights from the heart of this investigation. Up next is Sheriff Matt Lutz, who has been steering this case since day one. Sheriff, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Let's not waste any time and start with, can you give us an overview of where the investigation on Lisa's case currently stands?
Her case is currently open, but it is inactive. An inactive case means that there are no new credible leads to follow up on. There was an advanced state of decomposition in her case. The coroner's office was unable to collect as much information that they normally would because of this. Any time that we have a delay in starting an investigation, it impacts the progress. There was a delay in the reporting of Lisa being missing as well as finding her body. Anytime we have a delay, it affects the evidence collection and the investigative process. As with any case, if the public has information that they believe has a bearing on the case, we encourage them to contact us.
Thanks, Sheriff Lutz, for taking the time to chat with us. Thank you for your service and the protection in our community. For everyone listening, let's keep our eyes and ears open, and maybe we can make a difference.
I hope this helps. Please let us know if any new information develops.
Will do. So let's take a moment to talk honestly about where the answers to Lisa's case might really be found. It's easy to point fingers at the authorities to say they should be doing more. But it's not what they know, folks. It's what they can prove. And while they do have the main rule, there's another side of this that we need to discuss. The people Lisa knew, the community around her, us. Many of those who might know what happened to Lisa aren't what you'd call upstanding citizens. They're folks who might be living hard lives. They're caught up in some risky behaviors. These people who, they might lie, cheat, and steal. That's part of their daily survival. So getting them to talk, well, that's not easy. They're hard to find and hard to pin down. And yeah, they're scared. There's real fear out there. Snitches wind up in ditches isn't just a saying. It's a harsh reality. This makes solving a case like Lisa's incredibly tough. If the people who know something are too frightened or unwilling to come forward, then the truth just stays buried. And let's face it, without their cooperation, law enforcement's hands are often tied. So while we ask for more from our police, let's also talk about the community's responsibility. It's not just on the cops. It's on everyone who knows Lisa, everyone in her world. We need to have a community where people feel safe to speak up, where they trust that coming forward does make a difference. I mean, come on, folks. We all want justice for Lisa. And achieving that means breaking that silence, challenging those fears, and supporting the people who have the courage to come forward. I mean, did you hear me? It's all about pulling together, needing real trust and needing action from both law enforcement and the community. Now, I want to take a minute here. I want to talk about what it means to me to cover cases like Lisa. Digging into these old cases is more than just sharing stories. I mean, seriously, it's about chasing justice and really understanding the profound impact that these stories have on real lives. I mean, Lisa's story is a stark reminder of just how fragile life can be. Every case I dive into leaves its imprint, but stories like Lisa, full of unanswered questions and unending pain, I mean, that really hits me deep. I mean, this is the reason I kicked off this podcast, to cast a spotlight on those overlooked. I want to echo the voices of those who can't speak up anymore. And professionally, this podcast has pushed me to dig deeper, to question everything, and to connect more profoundly with my community and the experts that are in it. It's taught me the importance of persistence, of never settling for the easy answers, and striving to just bring that light, no matter how long it takes, to this evil darkness. Because every episode we create, every story that we dive into, that builds a bridge between the past and the present, between despair and hope. Lisa's story, and just like so many others, it motivates me to keep pushing, keep asking, and keep telling the stories that matter. Now, as I wrap up today's discussion on Lisa's case, I want to talk about what comes next, not just for us here at Death Lies Alibis, but for everyone listening and for our community as a whole. First off, the case doesn't stop here. While law enforcement does their part, there are so many single ways that we can help. We can help reignite interest and maybe even break new ground in this case. Let's talk about raising awareness. Folks, one of the simplest yet most powerful things you can do is share this episode. Spread the word on your social medias and talk about it at your gatherings, wherever you can. How about engaging with community incentives? I mean, I do encourage anyone and everyone to get involved with our local safety incentives, whether it's neighborhood watches, community forums, or supporting local nonprofits. We can all play an active part. And submitting tips is a big one. If you know something, anything that might help, please don't hesitate to reach out. No piece of information is too small. You can always remain anonymous if that feels safer. And supporting the family. Let's not forget about the families affected by cold cases. They need our support, whether it's just a comforting word or the big thing, attending vigils, or simply acknowledging that they have pain. Let's show them that their loved ones are not forgotten. Lastly, it's called advocacy. Advocate for the use of new technologies, of new forensic methods. Contact your local representative and stress the importance of funding and resources for these investigations we have. We'll be following up on all of these actions on our Facebook group, where I'm going to share some resources and ways that you can get directly involved. This is about building a community that's just not aware. I don't want us just to have knowledge. I want us to be active, all of us, in the pursuit of justice. So now I want to remind you folks, this is the time I want to say we're not professionals here. We get our information from very public resources. I present it to you for you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions. We are here for educational and entertainment purposes, and we strive to inform, educate, and advocate for justice. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of Death, Lies, and Alibis. We hope that by shining a light on these local cold crimes, we have sparked something within you, our listeners. Because the truth is, solving these cases will take more than just our words. It's going to require the dedication and collective efforts of the entire community. Don't forget to hit the follow button on the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Now, to learn more about how to get your case featured on the show or to get instant access to case files, reports, plus documents, and many free resources, go over to our Facebook group, Death, Lies, and Alibis, and join today. Or email us at deathliesalibis@gmail.com. As always, be safe, stay alert, and never stop seeking justice.